This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. So let's jump right into it with the WWE news to start. Clash at the Castle had 1,000 or 11,117 tickets out. Place holds just over 14,000. However, they had a gate of over 3.2 million due to the lowest ticket price being worth over $300 US, which is just crazy. I couldn't see like a secondary pay-per-view having too many tickets sold at that price, either in Canada or the US, but that was the first ever pay-per-view from Scotland to my knowledge, so although the fans left disappointed that McIntyre didn't win the title, they made a lot of money. They also did SmackDown from the same arena the night before, had 10,391 in that 14,000 seat arena. Raw this week in Corpus Christi had 7,784 tickets sold. Bill Goldberg, who's now 57, says he wants to have one more match, but he needs either rotator cuff surgery, but he's also going to try stem cell treatment on his shoulder before he looks into more about having that match. He said it doesn't necessarily have to be in WWE or AEW. He could do his own show somewhere in Europe or a place like Jerusalem, where it would draw a lot. As we've seen here, European people will pay a crap load of money for a big show, and Goldberg is a huge name. One of the people that would actually make a difference in AEW, but they haven't tried hard enough to get him. The other thing Bret Hart, the other thing Goldberg said was Bret Hart should drop his long-standing grudge against Goldberg. Goldberg or told Bret to grow up. A lot of people forget that Bret actually wrestled 10 matches after that Goldberg kick. Goldberg did tell him the kick was coming, and usually when you know a kick is coming in wrestling, you put your hands up. Bret Hart did have his hands up, and he did actually take a very large Lloyd's of London payout after he quote unquote retired. However, he did come back to be WWE US champion and be one of the WrestleMania main events against Vince McMahon. But what a lot of people don't mention is that he actually got a huge payout from Lloyd's of London, much like Nikita Koloff did, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Road Warrior Animal had one for a while. So you can't get those payoffs unless you retire, and some and in some ways there's ways to come back and not have to repay the payoff. Rick Rude apparently wanted to come back, but he would have needed to repay the payment that he got from Lloyd's of London. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, he was retired for a while, could still manage, but he ended up coming back. I'm not sure how that affected his payoff. Nikita Koloff, of course, never came back. Apparently, the Drew McIntyre angle where he quit WWE, it's all a planned storyline. It has nothing to do with his wife currently having health issues. It was planned all along for him to do this angle. Apparently, the city of Indiana and the Indiana Sports Corporation is going to bring SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania to the stadium in the near future, the Lucas Oil Stadium. Royal Rumble right now is scheduled for February 1st. There's no confirmation on this right now, but there's no one's denying it. I've driven through Indiana a bunch of times, Indianapolis rather, and I've driven past that stadium. In AEW news, they had their oh, by the way, just to say it for NXT, They actually had a higher rating this week, 0.26, than they did last week with Cody Rhodes, which was 0.22. So it says something about Cody Rhodes when you're doing a better rating when he's not on the show. AEW did their lowest Wednesday rating of all time this past Wednesday, only a 0.16, getting their butt kicked by the NXT rating. They're almost drawing like Collision and Rampage numbers now for Dynamite, which is really bad. However, they had an alright crowd in Fairfax, Virginia. I'm not sure how many of this was papered. They had a little over 4,000. AEW Collision and Rampage last weekend in Youngstown, Ohio had 2,600 tickets out, including comps. Apparently, the Shane McMahon rumor that he's interested in joining AEW was started by Jim Ross and Conrad Thompson. Of course, Jim Ross knows Shane McMahon, and Jim Ross is saying allegedly there's interest of Shane McMahon coming to AEW. With hitting the lowest ratings of all time, it might be a good idea to bring Shane McMahon in. Get rid of all these Japanese people from New Japan nobody cares about. Keep a few of them, but you're oversaturating the New Japan talent. And that includes guys like Will Ospreay, who has been a flop. He has been a flop. And bring in someone like Goldberg or Shane McMahon that people are actually going to care about. Mainstream people. You're catering to the crowd that are going to watch no matter what. And you're turning off everybody else. Again, another thing I hate about AEW is they're always having some type of tournament. They're currently doing an Owen Hart Cup tournament where the finals are supposed to be in Calgary, where there's only about 2,800 tickets out for that final Owen Hart Cup finals show in Calgary. And that's an 18,000 plus seat arena. They next week Dynamites in North Little Rock, Arkansas. They only have 1,460 tickets out right now. That's horrible. That includes comps. And they're starting their residency in Arlington, Texas. July 20th Collision. There's only 500 tickets out right now. Forbidden Door in Long Island. Right now, there's 7,798 tickets out. $36 get-in price. That's not bad for them. Of course, Long Island's a New York market, one of the biggest markets in the world. Kevin Kelly is apparently going to sue AEW over his release. Apparently, for Slammiversary, it's unknown whether the Hardys are going to be able to be at TNA Slammiversary. Matt Hardy can come into Canada, of course, but Jeff Hardy has the long list of legal issues, which WWE is able to overcome with all their connections. Of course, TNA is affiliated with WWE now, so maybe they could still get him in. I don't know. I know for independent shows in the past when he was with TNA, they were saying he could not get into Canada. I'm sure with money and power and contacts, there's always ways to get around that. So it's unknown right now. PCO is doing a great job of promoting that event. Alberto El Patron is working as an on-air talent and agent for AAA right now. Next Saturday night, by the way, Great North Wrestling returns to Napanee, Ontario, where I am going to be wrestling for the first time in a long time. And I'm also going to be wrestling August 31st in Petawawa, teaming with the Warlord. Tickets for both those events are on sale now at ticketweb.ca.